everybody. Welcome back to A Book for My Sister podcast, where we are just two sisters hanging out and we're talking about our favorite books and what we're reading currently, and we've got a lot of fun stuff planned for you guys, so you should come back after this episode. Last week we talked about the first two books by Grady Hendrix, so this week we're going to be talking about his third and fourth books. We're always going to try and let you know when there's going to be spoilers and whether we're going to be spoiling something. But overall, just go in with the expectation that there will be light spoilers because this is a book podcast and we're talking about what's happening in the books. So be prepared. Cassie, do you have any opening remarks for the people?
No, I don't think so. Welcome.
Okay, well, we already touched on this, but what drink do you have to assist you today through the episode?
Today, unfortunately, all I have is water in my awala. That's it. So
Wow.
boring, I know. I'm sorry.
That's pretty boring.
I'm sorry.
This early in the morning, you're only drinking
I
water?
don't really.
That's crazy.
Well, I don't drink coffee unless I'm at work.
I guess that's true.
And I'm pet sitting, so I don't have my matcha here and stuff. So I can't make a drink.
Oh.
So yeah.
That's really sad.
I know.
Okay. Well, I have my trusty water, and I also have a nice little homemade pumpkin spice caramel iced latte.
Oh, that sounds so amazing. Oh my god, I'm so jealous. That sounds so good.
I think I put a little too much milk in here. But it's pretty good. I used up the rest of my pumpkin spice syrup because it was okay. I just wanted to finish it. So, here we are. But it's pretty good overall.
Nice.
So anyway, that's what we're doing today, folks. Okay. Today, we are coming back around to Grady Hendrix, and we're talking about his third and fourth books. Next week, we'll be talking about his fifth and sixth books, and then in the last episode, we'll do like a final boss fight of what's the best one, and we'll talk about his newest book, and then, we'll kind of talk about themes overall. So we're doing a little deep dive into our man, Mr. Grady Hendrix.
Mr. Grady.
So, Mr. Hendrix. So today we'll be talking about We Sold Our Souls and the Southern Bookclub's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And before we get onto the book synopsis, we wanted to give you guys a little background because our entryway into Grady Hendrix was actually the Southern Bookclub's. Our gateway drug into Grady Hendrix books was the Southern Bookclub's Guide to Slaying Vampires. And I hadn't really read anything for fun in a really long time. And I had bought this book like a really long time before I actually read it. And it was just kind of sitting there because I really liked the cover. And I was like, because the cover is great, you guys. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's peaches on it. And it's just really fun. And they're bleeding because of the vampires. So it was sitting on my bookshelf for a while, and I just thought that I would read it, and I was blown away. I was like, I forgot that a book could be so fun. So I made Cassie read it, and that started our book trading system where we trade books back and forth that we like, and it also started our Grady Hendrix addiction, if you will. So, and you know what? I thought that the Southern Bookclub's Guide to Slaying Vampires was written by a woman because I was like, Grady could be a gender-neutral name.
Yeah.
We don't know. I don't know who this person is. And so when I was reading it, I just assumed, based on how the characters were written and what was happening, that it was written by a woman. And so when I got to the back of the book and it was a man, I was like, what is happening? This is a man wrote how does a man know some of these things? So anyway, just a little background on our personal history with Grady Hendrix. Okay. Cassie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, thought that man was a woman. He just, and I remember I was like halfway done with the book and we were on the phone, or I can't remember, and I was telling you about it. I was like, oh my god, it's so good, like, she's so great, and you're like, who's she? And I was like, the author, and you're like, no, girl, that's a man. And I said, what?
That's a man.
And then I flipped to the back cover and I was like, what is this 40-year-old white man doing here?
This weird little guy holding like a skull
it's the cutest
in
little
his picture or whatever.
I was just like, wait, what? Because the characters, all the main characters are women, and they're all pretty well developed.
And that's the way it is in all of
yeah,
these
well,
books,
yeah, that's
too.
true.
Yeah,
and they're all well developed and touching on things that I'm like, that's for girls only. How do you know that?
Do men care about things
How do you know
like
that?
this? I didn't know.
So I just assumed it was a woman, and yeah, that was really surprising. But
yeah,
you know, it's great.
Thanks, Grady, for deceiving us.
Yeah, I was totally deceived.
Yeah. The first book that we'll be discussing today is We Sold Our Souls. It came out in 2018. So in this book, our main character is a woman named Chris, and she is working at a Best Western hotel. She is not having a good time. Her mother has just died. She is just like hating her life, which is a lot of Grady Hendrix's ladies are not having a good time. So she's just like, I hate this. And we open up kind of with her past of when she was in high school, and she started this metal band with this boy that she thought was kind of weird, but then he learned that she liked metal music or whatever, and so enthused that she played the guitar, and so he was like, well, let's play together. So they started a metal band in high school called Dirt with a U, Work with a U. So it's Dirt Work, I guess. There's like umlauts over the U's though, because they thought it was metal to do that, like a German little umlaut. The little dots.
You better work.
But yeah, that's what I was thinking when I wrote that down. But they started to gain popularity when they were like in their 20s, and the lead singer kind of abandoned everybody, and we'll find out more about that later. But the band broke up, and Chris has been really bitter about it, and her bandmates have also been really bitter about it because they sort of pinned the band breaking up on Chris. So none of them talked to her. They all hate her. She had to like do some lawsuits or something with them afterwards because of some things that happened that we'll get into. But anyway, and then she had to sign an agreement with the lead singer, Terry, who kind of controlled this whole situation, saying that she would basically never play metal music ever again.
Which is crazy.
And it's
like,
crazy.
what about in
the
the privacy of my own home?
Well, and she tried to play music in bars that wasn't metal, and that he found out, and he sued her because apparently
breach of contract.
She actually wasn't allowed to play any music.
That's crazy.
in public ever. Yeah, so she put up her guitar, she like threw it in the closet, and she was like, I'm not playing this ever again. So that's where she is in her life. She's working at a Best Western. Her mom just died. She does not play the guitar, which is like the one thing that she ever really cared about. So she's like really tired of doing this. And her mom, she just had to organize her funeral. And so she decides one day after a really bad day at work that she is just going to try and get the band back together, minus Terry, because he's sold out. Terry is now a mega metal star, and his band's name is Coffin, and his music is terrible. So she makes this decision, and then she goes to visit one of her old bandmates, Scotty, and he welcomes her in, or his wife welcomes her in, and his wife is like, listen, there's something wrong with Scotty, just FYI. And so then Chris starts talking to him, and he starts babbling these old lyrics from Dirtwork's last album. Chris wrote like the whole album, and it was like their best work, and she loved it, and it never saw the light of day. And so Scotty begins babbling these mysterious lyrics, and then he like kills himself. He was about to kill her, and then he kills himself. And then a UPS truck shows up and kills his whole family.
Spoiler alert.
So that's very weird. Spoiler. Oh, well, it happens at the beginning of the book.
I mean, it's a spoiler.
I guess it's a spoiler alert. Okay, spoiler. Sorry, everybody. So she escapes, and then she decides she needs to go tell the other bandmates that Scotty warned her about UPS drivers and everything. So she's like, I've got to go warn people. And they're not happy to see her. They hate her because their last interaction was basically like the night that they were all supposed to sign big fancy contracts to work with Terry in this new band capacity. And she pulled them, the rest of them, aside from Terry, out of the contract signing and got them into a car accident because she was drunk and she drove them around. And then they got into a car accident. It was a really bad car accident because it was nighttime and snowing or whatever. So Chris goes to the first guy, whose name is Tuck, and he's like, this is dumb, but like, fine, we can go drive and see the other bandmate, whose name is Bill. And so Chris and Tuck drive to go see Bill, and Bill owns a wellness retreat in the same house that they were staying in when they were working on their last album called like Troglodyte. FYI, the album's called Troglodyte, which I think is how you pronounce it. So he's staying in like the Troglodyte house, and she's like, oh my God, this is crazy. It looks like a wellness retreat, and it is. And he's basically like drugging people.
Hell yeah.
And saying that they're getting better. So she's then, by Tuck and Bill, involuntarily committed into the retreat. And they, like, drug her for days. And she's not having a good time there either. So while she's there, she remembers what happened on contract night, which was basically her bandmates signed the contracts. And after they basically, I guess, sold their souls to the music industry or something. And so demons, like actual little demons, came and was like, were eating their souls. And she came in and saw that happening, and that's why she dragged them out of the house, because she was like, you guys are getting like killed by demons. And basically, she somehow predicted this would happen in the album, in the Troglodyte album, because that's like what the album is about, I guess. So it's like a whole thing, and then she escapes from the wellness retreat, and she sees that Terry's band, Coffin, is having like a Burning Man situation, except it's for metal music. And so she's like, I've got to go to Las Vegas to go to this situation so I can kill Terry, because he's a problem. And so she like is hitchhiking around trying to get to Las Vegas, and then she decides that she needs to go to an old high school classmate's house. He was her original drummer before he was fired as their drummer. And his name is JD, and he really hates Terry because he was fired as their drummer, so he like really hates Terry. So she goes to pick him up and is like, I really need your help. And he somehow knows all of the troglodyte lore and agrees to help her. So they start to drive across the country to go to Las Vegas, and she's trying to prevent something from happening at the metal concert and ultimately trying to kill Terry. So it's a little bit, I realized as I was talking that so many things are happening in this book that I don't know if that made sense as a description.
Yeah, no, I was just sitting here listening, and I was like, damn, this is like
a lot.
That
is like, that gets you to like the middle of the book.
Yeah.
Literally, I just opened up to the middle of the book, and it's where she's talking to JD for the first time in the middle of the book. So like,
action-packed book.
A lot of things happen in the book, and that is, we'll talk about that. A lot of things happen, but that's all we're going to say for now. So, Cassie, would you like to tell us about the next book?
I would love nothing more. Okay. The next book is called The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. It was released in 2020. Let me set the stage. 1990s, Charleston, South Carolina. There you go. Patricia, our main character, is a bored housewife whose daily life entails caring for her children, her husband, and her mother-in-law, Miss Mary, who has dementia and absolutely hates Patricia. The one thing in her life that brings her joy is her book club with her friends, because they read true crime. It's so fun.
Love this for her.
Yeah, it's so great. However, Patricia's life takes a turn when she is attacked by her elderly next-door neighbor. Her friends do, as friends do, they try to help her out, including referring a caretaker to help take care of Miss Mary. Her name's Miss Green. After this, Patricia meets her neighbor's great-nephew, James. He seems very nice, like almost a little too nice. He comes over to their house, i.e. Patricia invites him inside, and Miss Mary seems to recognize him. But the family, of course, chalks it up to her dementia. She takes a liking to James since he is really seems really nice, and he really cares about her reading, and he's like, oh, what are you reading? You know, very interested. And of course, you know, she's a housewife with a terrible husband. Of course, and ungrateful little children. So of course, no one else cares about her interests. So this guy comes over and he's like, hey.
They actively make fun of her interests the whole time.
They literally suck. Her family's the worst. But this guy, this attractive young man, is loving her stuff. So she's interested as well. So he comes over more and more, and every time Miss Mary becomes lucid and begins screaming, and all she screams is, I know what you did. Pretty ominous. So Patricia goes to check on her after one incident, and Miss Mary tells her about her father and how a man named Hoyt Pickens, who she claims is James, killed her father back in the day. She just knows it's him, and she shows Patricia a photograph from her childhood of her father, and lo and behold, he's standing next to James, or Hoyt Pickens? ? Patricia is frightened and concerned, but tries to hide this as much as she can, and she goes on being nice to him. You know, maybe she's like, he could just look like this guy. It's probably not him. That makes no sense, right? Wrong. So she goes on being nice to him. After this incident, this is kind of a spoiler. It is a spoiler. Mice flood into Patricia's mother-in-law's room, Miss Mary, and literally kill her. Like, I guess nibble her to death.
They like rip her face off.
Ugh.
And
gory.
Like just do a lot of things. These rats like brutalize this old lady.
Yeah.
And she dies in the hospital. She doesn't die in the room. She dies in the hospital.
Yeah, she dies in the hospital. And they also rip off poor Mrs. Green's finger. So Patricia visits Mrs. Green a few days after the incident, and she tells her, and Mrs. Green tells her that she has seen James's white van. Like, of course he drives a white van. Pervert. Like, what do you mean?
And in the 90s, that was like...
In the 90s, and you're driving a white van, and you're not trying to be a pervert?
Scared of a white van. No, yeah.
Absolute pedophile. Yeah, so she's seen his white van in her neighborhood. And since he's been driving around showing up, children in the neighborhood have been going missing or killing themselves after behaving strangely. She tells Patricia that another girl has been acting oddly, and she's worried for her safety. So Patricia goes over to her house, follows the white van into the woods, and sees James killing / sucking the blood of a child named Destiny. Mrs. Green tells Patricia that it is her responsibility to sort James out because he is attacking her community. And hell yeah, it's Patricia and her friend's responsibility. And they take responsibility, and some shit goes down. So, how can the book club come together to take down this evil, racist Dracula? Let's talk about it. But first, let's talk about the first book. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so, did I spoil We Sold Our Souls a little bit for you guys? Yeah, because part of the problem is that you can't describe We Sold Our Souls without spoiling some things that do happen. So I am sorry for doing that. And now we're going to spoil it even more. So this is your warning. We are about to discuss in depth both of these books, including the ending. So you can go and read them and come back if you would like, or you can listen to us and you can read them anyway because they're good.
Yeah.
So, okay. So We Sold Our Souls. As you all heard me struggling through that summary that I did write, and I just finished rereading this book on Thursday, and today is Saturday. There's a lot going on in this book. And so essentially, I have a lot of notes here, but essentially what happens at the end is that, JD, spoiler, is killed by metal fans. They rip off his face and all of the skin covering his throat.
That's pretty nasty.
And he dies a brutal ass death. That man is really horrible. So, and there are incidents throughout the book of metal fans who are going to coffins, concert. They're traveling across the U.S. and they are doing things like that to random people, like on the street. They're just like hurting people randomly. And then they rip apart JD because people have been posting her pictures saying that she is going to kill Terry and they need to find her because Bill tells the authorities that's what she's doing. So there's like a manhunt for Chris, and she's with JD, and they see them and they're like, oh my God, that's Chris. We've got to kill her because she's going to kill our favorite singer. So we've got to kill her. Which is, you know, a totally normal thought to have, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
It's not. It's
just call the police.
So that is happening like throughout the book. So Chris shows up without JD. She gets a ride from this girl who we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. And she shows up and she tries to talk to Terry. And Terry is like, you know, you were right with troglodyte and demons. They need more souls in order to give me creativity. And so he's hosting this metal concert so that the demons can eat the souls of the concert goers so that they will have their fill and they will gift him with creativity.
Yeah, and just fame in general.
And well, he's very famous, but he can't write any original music. Like because he's sold his soul and he's been doing it so many times, he like does not have any original thoughts anymore. So he like cannot write music. And so his music's been kind of bombing, but people love him anyway.
Warning to the listeners, we're not metal fans. Like, at all, I would say.
No, I don't think I've ever listened to metal music, at least on purpose.
Yeah, like I was like, I think I listened to it like once to see what it was like, and I was like, oh, this is not for me, guys. No. So yeah, I don't really know much about metal music or the kind of people that listen to metal music. I'm assuming, you know, we're all people. I don't think that metal listeners are like soulless demons. Yeah, so people. I don't know if Grady Hendrix. Because do we know what year this took place?
This is 2019. The book takes place in 2019.
Oh, it takes place in 2019 then. Okay, I was going to say, is it like similar to Best Friend's Exorcism, where it's like satanic panic? These people are now selling their souls listening to this music, and it's ruining, and you know, everyone's like, metal music's ruining lives, blah, blah, blah. But it takes place in 2019, so actually that doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I don't know necessarily what he's trying to say. I like the idea that it's just that people are just terrible. Because it's true.
Yes.
But yeah.
Like, that's so bleak, dude.
It is bleak.
It's so bleak. Okay. But yes. So I get confused because there's also, so you mentioned the part where she says that the U.S. is a soulless country and metal fans are violent people. And so the metal fans, Terry is trying to sell the souls of his fans at the concert. But then also, when she's at the retreat, at Bill's retreat, there are demons feeding on the retreat members. So, like, and I think it's implied or it's said that the retreat members are, like, rich people. But is he trying to say that rich people have also sold their souls? Because I would believe that as a message.
Gives a whole new meaning to
but it does
eat
give
the
a
rich.
Yeah. But that is, like, not really a topic in the book. Like, I'm struggling to understand in this book what he's saying. Is he saying that everybody is selling our souls to, like, get by on a daily basis? And if we like something that's kind of shitty, does that mean that we've sold our souls to, like, listen to shitty music or, like, go to, like, a scammer wellness retreat? Or, like, what is it that he's trying to say? I, like, don't, that is my problem with this book. Because overall, I like this book. It stresses me out. All of his books stress me out, so that's the thing. But I just struggle with, like, what is it that's going on here?
I think I would lean more towards him just commenting on rich and famous people because as someone who has just come from a yoga wellness retreat, I don't personally believe that I sold my soul. I mean, did it cost money? Yeah, but I earned my money and I paid for it.
I don't like, that's what it's like. Is he saying that? I don't know.
So I would say like, dumb? Yeah, like I would say that it really, that just to famous people, because Terry is so caught up in being famous and being relevant and making money that he does not care that he is sacrificing the souls of thousands of people. So I think that's probably like just a commentary on your idols probably don't care about you that much. So don't
meet them. Yeah.
Don't meet them, and love one another.
Yeah.
Where is the love?
Okay.
Is that the Black Eyed Peas?
Yes, that's
okay. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what I would
say. Okay. Yes. And so there is that, and then there's also Chris. So when the Dirt Work was still together, Chris wrote their last album. Basically, she wrote all of it, called Troglodyte. And there's like recurring themes and characters in their songs off of that album, such as the Black Iron Mountain. And they say the Black Iron Mountain comes for us all. And it's like a whole song that's kind of about, or the whole album is sort of about like losing your soul and like what it takes to like keep it, and who's going to take it from you, and how to not become a soulless person, I guess, in the way that, in the most metal lyrics that you can think of probably. And so also, like, why did Chris know that? Like, we don't really get, is it just that she is just like a pure person and she just loves music so much that she cannot possibly write anything musically that would be like poorly written because she wants money? Like, she just is writing from her heart and not writing to make money.
Yeah, I would say that.
She's like pure of heart in a way, and so she's able to like see through everything and write something that is true.
I like that.
Okay. No, thank you.
Yeah. That's
so
really beautiful.
Yeah, I think this is actually an important thing to read. It's just going to be kind of long, so I apologize, everybody. This is like almost an entire page. So when she goes to see JD, he has basically read or listened to and interpreted Troglodyte exactly as it is, and he knows about the demons, and he knows what Terry is trying to do with this concert. And he's like explaining it to Chris. And he says on page 192, now people sell their souls for nothing. They do it for a new iPhone or to have a one night with their hot next door neighbor. There's no fanfare, no parchment signed at midnight. Sometimes it's just a language you click in an end user license agreement. Most people don't even notice, and if they did, they wouldn't care. They only want things, so they sell their souls and they go to sleep, and the special ones crawl out of the dirty corners and lap them up. They control everything. They keep us hungry, they keep us in pain, they keep us distracted. Have you noticed how soulless this world has become? How empty and prefabricated? Soulless lives are hollow. We fill the earth with soulless cities, pollute ourselves with soulless albums. When the soul is removed, it leaves a hole, and we try to fill that hole with so many things. The internet and conspiracy theories and CNN and drugs and food, but there is only one thing inside that hole, Chris, and that is Black Iron Mountain. It is our jailer, and this is our jail. An eternal, insane hunger that can never be satisfied, a wound that can never be healed, an unnatural desire to consume. Our hunger traps us inside a prison as big as the world. There is no escape. Black Iron Mountain comes for us all. So that's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking. So yeah, I think maybe he is commenting on all of humanity.
Yeah, so
not
that
just the
is
rich,
where
famous people.
That is like everyone. Grady Hendrix is calling out all of
us. Guys, we gotta do better.
And so the special ones are what the little demons are called. So that's who the special ones are, and that's a capital S, capital O, special ones. So that's who that is. So, yeah, I mean, I think that my only problem with this message is that he doesn't, because this is just about metal music, this passage right here is the only time that we really get the commentary that people sell their souls for nothing, and that applies to everybody.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it is just about metal music, and I just feel like it's weird if this is his, like, thesis of this book. It's just weird that, I mean, maybe it's just like metal music as an example of, like, people doing this, and I understand what his point of view is. I just, like, the execution is just, like, it's not necessarily working for me, you know?
Yeah, because it's like, do you either want to comment on all of humanity, or are you just talking about famous people, or are you just talking about metal fans? Like, pick one and kind of go with it.
Yeah.
Me telling him how to write. I've never written a single book in my life.
Excuse me.
Make sure you have a clear point of view. Yeah, no, but that's, yeah, no, it's like, it's just hard to tell what he's exactly talking about.
Yeah, and it's just, he just is saying so much in this book that I feel like if he was gonna say, like, he says that, like, people suck, and, like, yeah, we see people that suck throughout this book, but then, like, Chris meets, like, so near the middling end, after JD is torn apart, literally torn apart by metal fans, and it's horrible, she hitchhikes, and she gets, there's this girl who we've kind of been following throughout the book, and her name is Melanie, and she's sort of like the subplot. And she was trying to get her deadbeat, horrible boyfriend to go to this concert with her. Yeah, she was like, our lives in West Virginia are horrible. Let's go across the country. Let's just move. Let's go to this concert and let's move. And let's just start our lives over. And he's like, yeah, okay. So she, like, starts working really, really hard and working all the time to save up money to go to this concert because Coffin is her favorite band. And it's gotten her through hard times. So she's like, we're going to start over. And then she realizes that her boyfriend lied about wanting to do that, and he actually got a job so that he got a job at GameStop so that he could purchase an Xbox, and then after he was able to buy the Xbox with his salary, he quit. Damn. So, yeah, he's like, this is the stupidest man. So she's like, well, screw you. I've been texting this man on a dating app, and he has a ticket for me, so I'm going to go meet him across the country. And she doesn't know this guy, but they've been, like, texting back and forth about the concert, and they like each other. So she's like, I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to reinvent my life, which is good for her. So she does that. And so Melanie picks up Chris on the side of the road after JD is killed. There's a lot of characters in this book.
Yeah.
And so, what was I saying? Melanie is nice. So she's even about to kick Chris out multiple times because Chris is not being very nice Chris is like, Coffin is horrible. I hate Coffin. He has no good songs. And Melanie is like, well, they're my favorite band, and I just told you that the reason why I'm still alive, so I'm going to kick you out of the car. And Chris is like, okay, that's fine. And then Melanie's like, no, we can stay. And they bond over, like, Dolly Parton, and you know, it's very nice. And Melanie is like, she lets Chris stay in her hotel room with her. And the next morning, Melanie is like, I really need you to meet these guys that I'm meeting up with because I don't know them. And I really need you to do, like, a vibe check on these guys for me. And Chris tries to tell her after she meets the guys that she is like, these guys suck. And she's trying to tell her that. But then the metal guys that Melanie's meeting up with recognize Chris as the person that wants to kill Terry. And they're like, oh my God, you've been traveling with this woman who wants to kill Terry. And Melanie's like, what are you talking about? And so then Melanie's like, I'm not going to report her, but I'm just going to leave her. And I told her that she could come with us, but now she can't, and I'm just going to leave her. And Chris doesn't know that Melanie's just going to leave without her. Because they were talking about how she's going to kill Terry after Chris had, like, gotten up to go do something. So she doesn't know that they know. So that's the whole thing. So it's just so many things are happening in this book. And the scariest, so we've talked about the plot. So now, in my opinion, the scariest part about this book is when Melanie is alone, is the subplot of this book.
Yeah.
Because Melanie is alone with, like, 5 of these guys who she does not know. And during the concert, there's like basically, the concert is like one ginormous mosh pit outside, basically. Like everybody's so close together. It's like, what is it called that in concert when people step on each other?
Oh,
is
trampoline?
It a stampede? Trampoline?
A stampede, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's almost that. And she's like, oh my God, there are these women everywhere, and there are men like grabbing all these women. And it's like, Jesus. And then the guys that she's with gang up on her. They had planned to assault her. And I don't know if they actually are successful in assaulting her in the middle of this concert outside, or if they start to, because thankfully he doesn't go into so much detail, but like it's really horrible. And they all like just gang up on her and pin her to like a metal, like it's horrible.
Very scary.
And that is the scariest part of this book to me.
Yeah, because it's actually very real.
It's very, because
that shit happens at concerts.
And like the demons are creepy and they're scary in like a horror book kind of way. But then you get the part where Melanie has traveled across the country to see someone that she trusted, but who unfortunately was a man. And he acted like a man.
Because you're
no
just
offense,
a
man.
man. It's just what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Lana Del Rey, for that.
You're so welcome.
But yeah, that was like the scariest part of the book to me. And I really just don't like it. So
yeah, that was scary.
It was scary. But we do get a happy ending because at the end, Chris forces her way up onto the stage so that Terry has to play the troglodyte music with her. Because she gets on the microphone and she's like, this is what we're doing. We're playing troglodyte. And so they are able, with the power of the entirety of the album of Troglodyte, to destroy the demons. Because the music is so good that it kills them. I guess. It destroys them. And then everyone is all the metal fans are so hyped after hearing all of this like album that has never been released to the public that they trample and burn down every booth that has any information about them in it. So there's no record of who was actually at the concert, which I guess somehow the special ones were going to use the records of the concert goers to find out who was there and steal their souls. But because there's no record of it, they cannot do it.
Yeah. I just love, because like the demons are described as like little white things, right?
They're little like, yeah, they're like
little white, little monsters.
Demon monsters.
I just love visualizing.
They're going to read the record.
Yeah, no, like someone's like, give me my glasses. I can't read this. And they're like, okay. Like, that's so goofy.
I really don't understand. So it's just very weird to me. I'm like, okay, like I'm glad that there's a hopeful ending, but they were seriously going to read where, John lives and go find him in his house and eat his soul there. They're all outside there. Why can't they just do it at the concert?
Yeah.
It's very confusing to me.
Yeah, it is. That's a little confusing.
It's very confusing to me. Cassie, do you have anything to add?
It doesn't, don't we also find out that the reason that they got into a car accident was because the demons crashed her car? It wasn't her.
Yes,
even though she was drunk, but yeah.
She was drunk, but there was a UPS. So the whole thing is too.
Oh my God! It all comes back UPS.
Terry has his like private army of like snipers or whatever, basically, and they drive around in UPS trucks and they pretend to be UPS drivers. And I guess he had this happening on contract night when they were still a band, and he hired them to drive Chris off the road.
Oh, okay.
So
that's what it was.
A UPS truck, because she remembers that a UPS truck has driven her off the road, and that's why they get into a car accident. You're right.
Oh yeah, just remember that. But I want to rank this on a scale of 1 to 10 white demons with glasses and paperwork?
Yes. Our data entry white demons.
Data analyst demons.
Okay, Cassie, how many data analyst demons would you rate this book?
I rate this book like 3.5 to 4 business bro demons.
That's like higher than I thought you were gonna go.
Really? Okay, at 3.
Yeah. Well,
3
you can rate it whatever you want.
No.
I really thought you
demons.
didn't like this book at all.
Because I gave My Best Friend's Exorcism like a 4, so yeah, I'll give this a 3.
Okay. I would give this book out of 10. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. I would probably give this book like a 5.5.
Damn.
White Elon Musk demons. Because I think the concept is good. I think that our characters that we're supposed to like, I think Chris and JD and Melanie, I like.
Yes.
You know, I think that he had some really good things to say in this book. I would just wish that it made more sense.
All right. 5 Elon Musk demons. Perfect. Okay. Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. First of all, yeah, we want to make sure that everyone knows it takes place during the 90s. Okay, we thought it took...
And the 80s, like the late 80s, okay. Early 90s.
80s, 90s.
Yeah.
When we first read this book, we thought it took place during the 1960s for a couple reasons. Mostly because the vibes were totally giving 1960s. Because the housewives were treated like 60s ladies, and they were all tranquilized up. Yeah. And
in the second half of the book,
they're all tranked up. And they were belittled and just but like obviously I guess that took place during the 80s and 90s. We were not alive. We weren't there for that. But I'm sure it did. Also, the relationship between white and black women in this book, we thought it was maybe an earlier book because it was super segregated and racist. But of course, Charleston in the 80s and 90s probably was that way. We just weren't around.
We would believe. Yeah,
it was just kind of wild to see how segregated this was. So yeah, that was interesting. So this does take place in the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
It does. And just generally, was it silly of me to read through this book and be like, it takes place during the 60s because every chapter, every section of the book starts with what year it is?
It does?
So we are constantly...
We're just idiots.
July 1993.
I don't remember that.
Any attention. Well, because every one of Grady Hendrix's books, essentially, each section or chapter will have some sort of unique indicator that a lot of other books don't have. So for this book, it's sort of like sections based on what the book club is reading at the time. So, for example, it says like Helter Skelter, May 1993, because the book club in May 1993 was reading Helter Skelter. So that's how he sort of separates this book. We forgot to mention it in We Sold Our Souls because when I reread it, I was speed rereading that book. But that book has like an interview from like a shock jock metal radio station that plays like in between each chapter. So he does stuff like that with his chapters. Oh, yeah. So the year is at the beginning of each section. And I think it was just looking back. When I was reading it, maybe I wasn't like, oh, this takes place in the 60s. But when I was thinking back on the book and remembering the book, I think that I thought that it had taken place in the 60s just because I was like, oh, well, there's all of the women except for the caretaker who takes care of Miss Mary are all housewives.
Yes.
And so all of the white ladies are housewives, and our only main character of color is Mrs. Green. Mm-hmm. And she's a black woman, and she is a caretaker, like a medical caretaker for Miss Mary. And then they were all treated by their husbands horribly, which men treat their wives horribly all the time.
Doesn't matter the year.
It doesn't matter what year it is, there are still men that treat their wives this way. But I think just thinking back, we're like, oh, it feels like it takes place during the 60s. In the middle of the book, so what happens in this book is that after her mother-in-law is like, that man killed my father, or is the reason that my father died, which is really what she's trying to say. Patricia tells her book club, not that she sees him attacking the child. She doesn't tell her book club that he's a vampire. She tells them that he's a child molester. Yeah. Because she doesn't want to sound crazy, like totally off her rocker. And so and one of her book club mates, her husband is a detective or a police officer. And so she convinces her friend whose husband is a police officer to tell her police officer husband about this. And they one night get their book club together, and the woman is like, okay, my husband, and he's got some detectives that are going to come over, and they're going to hear us out. And they have this whole thing planned on how they're going to show the evidence and prove this is what's happening with James. And instead of the police officers showing up,
oh my God,
all of their husbands show up. Because the woman whose husband is the police officer, instead of telling anybody else, he told all of the book club ladies' husbands that they are delusional and they think that James is a predator when he's not, because he's an upstanding citizen. Yeah. And so all of the husbands go into the house, and it is really horrible. It's horrible, and
they make the men them like apologize to James.
They make Carter, who's Patricia's horrible husband, in front of everybody. They have invited James to come in so that they can tell him what's going on. These men have invited James over, and Carter is like, Patricia, you're going to apologize to him. You're going to apologize to this man because you've been saying horrible things about him. And she is like, I'm not going to apologize to him. She's like, I refuse. And then one of her friends apologizes because she really cares about how she looks in the community. And so she's like, I'm just going to apologize on behalf of Patricia. And so basically this happens. And then Carter he's like the head of psychiatry, or he's up to be the head of psychiatry at the local hospital. And so he has access to like mental health drugs. And so he brings like Zoloft or something home. And he's like, Patricia, you're going to take these, or I would like for you to take them. He's like, I'm not going to police you. I'm not going to watch you take them. I just think that you should take them. And she's like, you know what? You want me to take these so bad and to shut up so bad? I'm just going to overdose and kill myself.
Yeah.
So she does, in fact, do that. And her son finds her, and she's like convulsing on the floor, and he has to call the hospital. It's really horrible. And when she wakes up in the hospital, she has been strapped to the bed. And she knows that her husband has asked for the medical staff to strap her to the bed so that he could bring in their children and demonstrate to their children that they no longer have to listen to their mother. The whole thing is horrible. Yeah. It's horrible.
That's not great.
And so basically the kids like have been indoctrinated by the dad to not listen to Patricia anymore. And she tries to be like, will you guys help me with this? And they're like, we don't have to listen to you anymore because dad says we don't have to. And he's not even home. So I'm also like, what is the practicality in telling your children that they don't need to listen to their mother when she asks them to do things around the house? Because it's not like you're ever home. So who are the kids supposed to listen to? Because you're not there to be like, will you help us do the dishes? Yeah. I know he doesn't care. But I'm just like, what is the practical reason for doing something like that?
There is none, just to be controlling and gross. None. So... Yeah, and that kind of shit is happening all through the book. So during times like that, you've got to put the book down. You're just like, are you fucking kidding me?
It's like hard to read. You can't really read. You can read the book in one sitting, but you're going to be sitting there all day because you're going to have to put it down and then come back. I just would have to set it down. I would set it down for like 5 minutes and then I would come back because you got to cool off because there's so many instances. And this is why we thought that Grady Hendrix was a woman, because there's so many instances where you can just tell that these men hate their wives. And it's really like, I think that not all of them, I think like one or two of them seem like they have a loving relationship with their wife. But if you're like pulling stuff like that and tricking your wife and trying to embarrass her in front of like her entire like close-knit community, then I feel like you kind of hate her a little bit, because you wouldn't do something like that to someone that you don't hate. So there's just a lot of instances that are even like small instances that I'm like, how does Grady Hendrix know about all of these small things that happen in these heterosexual relationships, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how does he know that?
Yeah. It's very frustrating to read, but it's also like, you're just like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's happened to me before. That's crazy. Like, wow. So
yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And so that's like, you know, that's part of the book. And so she is like in the middle of the book, she's like medicated, and then we skipped like a couple years after all of that happened, and she is like, I can't remember if she's medicated after that. I think she is, because she's like, oh, I just have to be calm and whatever. And she, like, Patricia is trying just to get through every day. And now it's been a couple years since they confronted James. And now James is, like, a huge pillar of the community. He's helping to develop, like, a neighborhood or something. And all of their husbands have invested in this, like, neighborhood. And so James has made it so that their families are, like, financially dependent on him, basically.
Yeah.
So he's really manipulating the situation here. And then they're talking to Miss Green some more, I think, and Patricia goes to Mrs. Green, and they're like having a conversation about this, and Mrs. Green is like, you know, because that's what it is James is like starting to go after Patricia's children. Right. Her daughter. In a vampire way. Yeah. Yes. And her son also. Oh, and so she goes to Mrs. Green, and she's like, what do you, like, should I do something? And Mrs. Green is like, I told you that you needed to do something like 3 years ago. Yeah. And you didn't do anything. And Mrs. Green sent her children away. So they don't even live with her, because she knew that something bad was going to happen to them if they stayed. So she sent them away. Because she was like, y'all can't stay here. Something's going to happen. This man's going to come kill you. So she's like, well, when my children were in danger and I asked you to help and you didn't do anything, and now your white children are in danger and your white community's in danger, and now you care, and now you want to help. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Patricia couldn't be bothered to care. And I think that is a real dynamic that exists today. Definitely. Too. That's not something that feels very sick. That feels 2025.
No, yeah, I mean, it's like missing white woman syndrome is the same thing. Yeah.
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 People care more about the white children being affected by this blood-sucking vampire than than the black children that were killed years prior.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just white women don't care about things until it's in their front yard, and they're like, oh no, what's happening? And everyone else is like, this has been happening for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? I thought that was such a real thing that he had in this book.
Yeah.
And so I did appreciate that about this, because I felt like there were some things where I was like, in 1990, were men like tranking up their wives to be like 50s, 60s housewife zombies? Was that happening in the 90s? I don't know. Maybe it's the South. It could have been happening. But so that felt old to me. But then some of the problems, I feel like you could write this book to happen in 2025, and it would be only a little bit different.
Yeah, it would still be pretty similar.
Yeah. So, and that's what I really like about this book, and I think that this is my favorite book of his, just because it's so, like, it's scary because there's all this systemic stuff happening, and there is, like, racism and sexism that is very real, that exists in the real world, that's happening in this book. Mm-hmm. And then you also have this, like, terrifying vampire that, like, lives next door.
Yeah.
And is trying to, like, kill everybody.
Yeah. Well, so then how the book ends, the book club decides, we got to do something about this. And they do be doing something about it. They just cut him up. And
so what happens at the end of the book? So Mrs. Green and Patricia decide, because Mrs. Green is now a housekeeper, or like she works for like a maid cleaning service, and so she has been cleaning houses with this other young woman, and so it's like for a company. It's like a larger company that she works for, and so they are scheduled to clean James's house, and he has like torn down the house that was his quote unquote great aunt's house. He was not related to her. He just pretended.
Yeah.
And so he tore down her house and built this like giant gross monstrosity house. And so Mrs. Green is scheduled to clean the house like the following week, and she's like, Patricia, you need to come, and I will let you in, and you need to look around this house and see if you can find anything that we can use as evidence against him. Now this is happening to your children. So Patricia goes up, and she's like looking, I don't know if she's looking for anything specific or she's just looking for something. And so she goes up into his attic, and she finds a dead body zipped into a suitcase. And she recognizes the person because it's a woman who went missing from Mrs. Green's neighborhood like 3 years before. And she recognizes her. She's like mummified and zipped into this suitcase, and it's really horrific. And Patricia and then James knows that Patricia is in his house. He's like tipped off by somebody. I can't quite remember. He's tipped off by somebody. And so he comes home early. And so Mrs. Green and her coworker have to leave, and Patricia is trapped in the attic. And James knows that she's up there. And it's a very scary scene. It's like very tense. You're like, oh my God, what is happening? And so she manages to leave, and she gets the dead woman's ID. It's like in the suitcase with her. So she's able to get it, and she throws it in James's car to try and be like, this dead woman's ID is in his car.
Yeah,
like,
suspicious, probable
like
cause.
Evidence that but then he does find it, and he throws it away.
Yeah.
So it's not there anymore. But then Patricia and her friends, she's finally able to like rally her friends to be like, this is happening, and if you want to join me and you want to protect your children, then you need to come with me, and we need to get this man. So they basically, Patricia finds James in her daughter's room. Mm-hmm. And he is like sucking her blood. And the thing is that he made the way that vampires are described, or this man is described in this book as sucking blood, is it's supposed to be sort of like sexual,
erotic. Yeah. It's
like for
very
the
unsettling.
person that's having their blood. It's very unsettling. And he like bites like their inner thigh or something. So at first she thinks that her daughter's like having sex with somebody, and then she's like, oh, that is like James, and he's like eating my daughter's blood. So the next day, or like their plan is to basically for Patricia to say in exchange, like, you don't, please leave my daughter alone, but you can have me instead, basically.
Yeah.
And so she goes in there, and he kind of sees right through what she's trying to do. She's trying to make it sound like she's just trying to seduce him. And he's like, you're pathetic. I know exactly what you're trying to do. And if you promise to tell your husband that we're having an affair, and then implant me as the father figure of the children, then you can have what you want.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, fine. And so he's like sucking her blood, and her friends sneak into the house. And they attack him while he's doing that because he's distracted. And they basically dismember him.
Yep.
They have like saws and just like all these things. Because one of them, she has a farm. So she's like taken her husband's like farming, like hunting equipment or whatever. And they've got like saws and just like all these things. And so he's like in the bathtub, and it's like there's blood everywhere. And one of them has photocopied pictures from a hunting manual of her husband's that shows you how to like cut apart like a deer, like how to dismember a deer or something. And she's taped them up behind the tub, and they're like hacking away at him. And it's like honestly pretty funny.
Yeah.
So that they are like chopping him up properly. And then they take his body parts and they put them in different bags. And one of the women, her husband works at a funeral home. And she and her husband have purchased like, mausoleum lots basically. And so what they do is they separate the 2 bags of his body parts into the different mausoleum boxes so that he can't get out, because the body parts are like alive still. And so if they were next to each other, they would just come back and he would heal, because they would like rebuild him basically. But because he's like separated in these like locked boxes, they can't do that. And so that is like how the book ends. One of their book club members does die because James kind of finds out what's happening and he assaults her. And she basically she is like pregnant with like a demon
that, like,
and so she has to go to the hospital. It's like destroying her.
That was really sad.
And so she dies,
and she was like avenge me, and they were like, all right.
They're like, yeah, we will. And everyone like Hello, everybody. This is Editing Amelia here. I was going back through this episode, and it turns out that I did not describe this part of the book accurately, so I wanted to come back in here and correct that because it's just wrong the way I described it. So after Patricia and Mrs. Green decide that they need to go into James's house, Patricia goes to Slick's house. Slick is one of her book club members and someone she feels very close to. So she goes to her house and she shows her the photograph that Miss Mary gave her of Hoyt Pickens. And Slick is like, okay. Like, what do you want me to do with this? And Patricia is like, I really need you to come into the house with me and help me look for things because we need to care about Mrs. Green's children and black children, and I need you to just come help me, look for something that will help all of our children. So Slick is like, okay, maybe, but she wants to keep the picture so she can pray on it because she's very religious and help her make a decision. And she agrees eventually to come to James's house, but not be like too suspicious or like open a lot of things and touch a lot of things in his house. And so Patricia's like, great. So Patricia goes into the house, but Slick never shows up to James's house. And so then, Patricia looks through and all of that we described does happen. And so obviously, James comes home and Patricia has to leave. And Patricia calls Slick just to see like if something happened or what's going on. And Slick just sounds really bad. And she just keeps like repeating. She keeps saying, I didn't make a sound, like over and over again. That's what she keeps saying. And Patricia's like, I don't know what's happening. So she goes over to Slick's house, and finds her lying on the floor of her bathroom. And that's when it turns out that Patricia finds out that James came and assaulted her. So that is, and he came and assaulted her because Slick called him and threatened to expose him because she had the picture of him of, quote unquote, Hoyt Pickens. And so she threatened to expose him for what he really was. So she had called James, and that's how James knew that Patricia was going to be at his house, and he came over and assaulted Slick because she threatened him. So that's what happened in this part, and I just wanted to clarify that because I think I got the order of events wrong, and so I wanted to kind of elaborate on that. Okay, goodbye. The hospital, and like her husband thinks that she has AIDS because that's like the time period that it was. And so her husband is like, what are people gonna think? And it's like, bro, like your wife is dying, like what are you even talking about? So it's really very sad. So it's sad, and it ends, and it does end with Patricia asking Carter for a divorce and getting a divorce.
Hell yeah.
And Carter is like, which parent do you want to come with? You're probably going to want to come with me because, like, I'm the cool dad.
Cool
like,
dad.
And both of her kids were like, we're going with our mom.
Hell yeah.
We don't like you. So she gets, like, full custody or whatever of the children. So
yeah,
it's this book of his, I think, is the most organized book.
Yeah.
Because we just came off of We Sold Our Souls, where like a million things happen in that book. And I think that this book is the easiest book to describe to someone. And it makes it like, it all makes sense, you know? I think it's his scariest book. Cassie, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I remember when I first started reading it, I was laying in bed before bed reading, and it was like the first scene where he like tries to like almost break into their house, and she just like hears stuff.
Yeah, he's on the roof.
And he's on the roof.
He's on the roof.
I literally had to put the book down, and I said, I'm going to have a nightmare. I'm going to stop this for this evening and go to bed or watch a funny video, because that was scary. Very spooky.
Yeah.
Very scary.
The rats.
The rat's disgusting.
Scary. And we get the gore, the classic Grady Hendrix gore. With the rats. That's a pretty gross. This book is actually, when I reread it, it actually wasn't as gory as I remember it being. And I think that's because this is really the first horror book that I ever really read. And so I think when I first read it, I was like, oh my God, this is like so nasty.
Yeah.
And like, it's gross. Like when the rats come in, it's gross. And they chew on Ms. Mary and they chew on Mrs. Green. They chew her finger off. They do attack their dog, but the dog just lives. The dog lives in this book.
Yes.
So we like this.
The dog
we like that for this
survived.
book. The next goriest part is when they're chopping up James. And like it's gross. There's like blood everywhere, and he like describe. That's the thing, is he'll describe. Grady Hendrix, like I think I said last episode, he will have like 2 pages, maybe 3 in a book that make you go like, that's disgusting, and like, oh my God, ew. And then that's all. And there's like, there might be violence, but there's not like as much gore. But when there is gore, you're like, oh my God, that's a lot. And so that's kind of how this book is. It's not like so gory, but it is like where it's gory, you're like, you know,
yeah.
Ew.
It's really just creepy, and I think it covers a lot of important topics, and I just think it's a great book. It's overall unsettling. Very entertaining.
It is a good book. It is. I do wish we could have learned more about Mrs. Green, because at the end of the book, Mrs. Green is with the book club in the house, and they're all chopping him up, and they're all calling each other by their first names, and everyone's just calling her Mrs. Green still, and she's calling them by their surnames too. And I do wish that we had been able to like sort of, but I wonder if he was trying to say something there. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That there's still a separation, even though they're like doing this together.
Yeah.
They're not going to like come back together after this, you know, with Mrs. Green. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Cassie, I do have this question written down. Are we seeing a change from his first 2 books to his second 2 books in how he writes his female main characters? Like, do you think there's any major differences in how he's writing the main characters, or are they kind of the same? What do we think?
I think the female main characters are, I think they're this like similar, but it's really just the men in the books that are just like, you see more and more condescending men throughout the books. Yeah, I think. Yeah. But like all the female main characters they're pretty, I mean, they're strong, but they're also like flawed, and they're very well-rounded. But yeah, it's mostly just like he really gets into the condescending nature of these men. He does.
Yeah, I really think that I like how his female main characters are like, they are like going into battle and then like, ugh, I'm gonna do this, but they're not like perfect. They're not like, oh, I'm doing this for the good of all, and this is why I'm doing this, and I have an absolutely perfect reason, and there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm like an unimpeachable person, because that's not realistic, and people aren't like that. But his main characters are always like, you know, they're not always doing their best. They're not always doing things for other people. Like Patricia is doing this because at the end of the day, she wants her children to live, and she didn't really see like Mrs. Green's children as like children that she needed to take care of.
Yeah, they're more expendable.
I'm not saying that's not admirable.
No.
But I think it's interesting that, you know, she wasn't like, you know, after her husband told her to stop, she was like, okay, fine. and she kind of gave up for a little bit, and then she came back to it. And like Chris isn't perfect either. She's like running all over the place. She's not really properly explaining herself to anyone, so everyone kind of thinks that she is doing something really terrible. And you know, she's like a messy person. And in Horror Store, Amy is like, I don't want to be here. I don't like these people, but you know, I'm here and I might as well like help them while I'm here. And she tries to leave at one point. You know, it's like his characters are like real people.
Yeah.
And they have like real motivations.
I agree.
You know, I think one of my last sort of points was that kind of what you said is that his men just become increasingly condescending.
Yeah.
And in We Sold Our Souls and in Southern Book Club's Slaying Vampires, there are men that are like, even they're like condescending, they're like horrible. And it kind of reminds me, I don't think you've read any Ira Levin books. No. But I have read Stepford Wives and Rosemary's Baby, which I hope we'll talk about in the future because they're pretty good books. But Ira Levin wrote, and he was writing books, I don't remember, like in the 60s. I think the Stepford Wives and Rosemary's Baby were both published in the 60s. And when I read Stepford Wives, I was like, how does he know? Because her husband was like, he was like being condescending to her, and he was telling her that things that she was experiencing weren't really what she was experiencing. And ultimately, spoilers for Stepford Wives, it came out in the 60s, guys. Ultimately, he like has her turned into like a housewife sex robot, basically. Yeah. And she tries to warn people, and he has the men in the neighborhood like corner her and reassure her that everything is fine. Like there's so much like gaslighting and manipulating of like husbands and their wives in that book. And then in Rosemary's Baby, Rosemary like keeps thinking that there's weird things happening with her husband, and he's like, no, everything's fine, babe. And she's like, okay, like you're my husband, so I guess I trust you because like I'm married to you. And in the end, he sold her to the devil to have a demon baby for like a cult reason. So I just think it's interesting how like Ira Levin, a lot of things, like there were obviously major things that the husbands were doing to their wives in those books, but along the way there were like tiny little interactions that I think men don't always see as being horrible and manipulative, because they're like, this is just, you're just not as smart as me, so this is how I'm going to talk to you. And I just think that Grady Hendrix's men also kind of act that way in these books, and they don't listen to the women, and they manipulate them, and they try and make them do things that they want them to do. And I think that is sometimes the scariest part of his books, is the men are the scariest part, you know?
Yeah, definitely agree. But also the vampire is pretty scary.
The vampire is pretty scary.
He's pretty spooky too.
No, he's scary for sure.
How many Southern Vampires would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would rate this one probably like, let's see here, like I would say 8.75 or a 9 Southern Vampire. 9 Southern Vampires.
I was going to give it also 9 Southern Vampires.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this one is sort of tied with a different book for me, like in terms of my favorite book of his.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll get into that next week.
Okay.
But I'm going to try and reread the books for next week.
Damn.
We'll see if I'm able to do such a thing. But upon rereading this book, I was like, I'm not sure if it's going to hold up, and it definitely did.
Yeah.
And I can't say that for every book
that
I've ever enjoyed.
That's good to know.
So, yeah, I think this is a really good book. It's written really well. His characters are really good. 9 Southern Vampires for me.
Yeah, definitely highly recommend this book. I think it's also a great introduction into his writing overall.
Mm-hmm. Would you recommend We Sold Our Souls? Why or why not?
I think it's going to have to be similar to Final Girls for me, where I was like, if you've read some of his other great books and you're kind of just wanting some more of his style, you can read it. I wouldn't say read it first. I would not say use that as
Yeah.
your introduction.
I wouldn't say that We Sold Our Souls is a good representation of his writing overall, probably.
Yeah.
So it's not a good introduction to Grady Hendrix, the man.
No.
But
yeah, if you're just craving some of his writing and you like his and you've read his other stuff, yeah.
Yeah, if you've read his best books and you're like, I need to
Yeah.
read something else.
I would read it,
Sold Our
but
Souls.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I like it. The issues with it sometimes overshadow how much I like it. Because I'm like, what is actually going on here?
Yeah,
I
agree.
Thank you all for listening
Thank you.
to A Book for My Sister. Let us know in the comments what y'all think about these books. If you've read them before, if you want to read them, or like if you think our takes are, if you agree or disagree with us. But please be nice, because we're sensitive.
We have
so
feelings.
please be nice to us. When we have feelings. We're not just talking heads.
Yeah.
So next week we will be taking a little break from Mr. Grady Hendrix to talk about some of our horror/thriller books that are not Grady Hendrix that we recommend that you read for Halloween. So that's going to be on October 31st. We're going to have a little horror roundup episode. So join us for that, you guys. If you've got any horror books that you recommend, let us know.
Yeah.
Keep on yapping and reading until then.
Please do.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Please do. Thanks, guys. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.